Welcome to the newest dialogue in politics, community news, human interest stories, entertainment, and information from Eastern North Carolina. Janet Conner-Knox is an award-winning journalist with more than 25 years experience in print, radio, and television. This is Talking with Janet.
Hi, I'm Janet Conner-Knox, and with me today is Donna King. It's a little bit different show today. We're not talking to politicians or anything of that nature, but we are talking to stage, television, and movie actress, Donna King. First of all, Donna, I am so excited to have you talk with me today. And how did you happen? You're an American, you live in London. And you're here for a visit.
I'm here for a visit, and I'm here for a calling. I've been called back to the homeland here, to a place I've never had the pleasure of visiting before. I like to have adventures in my life, as you can tell. And a colleague I work with a lot in London actually called me up and asked me to please come over. There's lots of stuff, there's lots of potential here. They want to revive the arts and culture scene, so come and help out and see what we can get done.
What'd you find? You were in Wilton, North Carolina. Where'd you find? And you're probably surprised it's not New York, Chicago, Philly, D.C.
Right.
Atlanta.
Right, someplace. Or even Kansas City, where I'm from. You know,
Tennessee,
yeah.
You know, Nashville.
Yeah.
Wilton. What'd you think? Are you surprised?
I didn't know what to expect. I came here completely not knowing what to expect at all, except that I heard that Matthew McConaughey was going to move here. That's all I'd heard about Wilton, North Carolina. And it was near Mayberry RFD, okay, which of course everybody loved as a child watching that. But I didn't know what to expect. But let me tell you, girl, I was in culture shock.
Were you?
The first night I was just like, wait a minute. Just trying to feel the vibe, trying to get my feet on the ground. It just takes a second to kind of like relax into a place and get the feel for things. And it was a really interesting moment. And the next morning I woke up going, okay.
Well, in Wilton, Rocky Mount, Wayne County, Pitt County, there are lots of actors, singers, dancers, lots of culture here in Eastern North Carolina.
Oh, I've been so impressed with that, you know, and the people have been so lovely and polite and warm and welcoming, and really so much so, more than other places in big cities, you know. But some of the voices today, I was just in rehearsal today, and they were kind of improvising.
Tell me what you're doing here. What are you doing?
Okay, yeah, I'm helping out with a production of Midsummer Night's Dream at Barton College. So we got some really talented young people in the show, and it's going to be an outdoor performance, and I think they're going on a small tour after that. So we are doing a southern version of Midsummer Night's Dream as if it takes place in Athens, Georgia.
Oh.
Right? So I think that's such a wonderful idea, and I'm saying, and the kids all want to sort of speak in English accents, and because it's Shakespeare.
Yes.
But we're saying, oh, please hold on to your southern, you know, please, because that will make it so different and so unique and so much more understandable and accessible to the public as well, we're hoping. So I've also choreographed a hoedown, and
in Shakespeare. William will never understand.
Bill will be rolling over in his grave.
He would say, oh my goodness, but then he'd love it.
He would totally love it, because it's actually making it more realistic and more accessible for the audience that we have now.
Is that a problem? Is that because, you know, there are people who go to theater, and then there are those who go, I'm not too sure.
Exactly.
What do we do to make theater more accessible to everybody, make them want to be a part?
Right. Well, what I've said to the people today, the company, that, you know, it's about storytelling. Now, to maintain sanity in society and levity, it's really helpful to have stories. So the people will go, oh, I feel like that sometimes. It's like a condensed life in 2 hours or whatever the amount of time is. So it's heightened reality. So you have a chance to go, oh, I feel like that sometimes. This particular play is about love and how crazy it can get and how confusing it can be. So people may have those situations in their mind, in their own lives, and they might be able to glean some insight insight into their own situations just by watching and going, oh, okay. So it's to understand our own lives. That's why we have stories. That's why we read stories. And that's why we don't want to lose the art of storytelling and have it just be quick sound bites, because that's not storytelling.
You were on Broadway. Yes. Let's talk about what that was like.
It was so much fun to be on Broadway. It really, really was. I mean, I had to kind of go from Kansas City, where I studied dancing, and my father was a musician, so I grew up around a lot of music. I got great teachers who are still kicking today. I love them so much, who inspired us and got us out of town and finding out different things, opened our minds and eyes to the world at large. Even took us to London when I was only 14 years old. It cost $500. We got to go to London, Paris, Brussels, and Amsterdam.
For $500?
$500, including the flight. Of course, we're going back a little ways.
Okay, we won't talk about
don't bring up the numbers.
No, we don't.
But the way that opened up our minds was phenomenal. It was just absolutely fantastic. So, having that experience and getting to travel a little bit and see what else.
But how hard was it to actually get on Broadway? Like, you see the stories.
Yeah.
They had to be a waitress for 15 years, and they still, there was always that, you go and you say a couple of lines, like, next, or thank you.
It is like that.
Yeah.
I used to start the mooing and the wings when we go to the Fosse auditions, because we felt like we were cows. I'd be like, because it was lighthearted. New York had just defaulted from the rest of the country. President Ford had said, New York, you're on your own. So it was broke. But the good side about being broke is that artists can afford to live there. Right? So I just felt like the energy of New York City was so exciting, and you could go to the little Howard Johnsons on 42nd Broadway and talk about the audition, and everybody could live in Manhattan and dance and sing and act and learn and study and play and experiment, fall down and get back up again and do it again and laugh about it. So it was less precious then. It was less self-conscious, and it was more organic, primal, creative.
Your first show, what did you think when you looked out and like, oh my God?
You want to know what happened? My first show, very night, opening night on Broadway, I fell down on my butt. I did, but I got up so fast, not one person even said anything. I was just overexcited. My nerves were.
I'm sure. Yeah. To stand backstage and know, okay, here it is.
Yeah. No, the energy was just like crazy exciting, and it was wonderful because off Broadway it was the best Little Whorehouse in Texas was the show, and off Broadway downtown in the East Village we had a show in the Little Theater, and Jackie Onassis came.
Did she?
Yes, she did, and that got in the papers, and that kind of put us on the map, because here's this show called The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas, which I told my grandma in Kansas. It was called The Best Little House in Texas, and she said, that's a funny name. I said, yeah.
Did she ever find out?
Yes, she did, and they were so proud, and everybody got to come.
They were so proud. My child is at the best.
Oh yeah, especially my daddy being a country western guitar picker. I mean, he's all Texas born anyway, so he just came up, and we just had such a great time. The company was so much fun. It was extremely supportive of one another.
And you want to do that here? Is that right? You want to bring that to the?
Yes.
Is it to Wilson or to the United States?
It's funny that it happened. Like I just came here to help with the Shakespeare, and they said, "Oh, we're doing a production of Best Little Whorehouse in Texas." I spoke to the our head of Arts Council here.
Wow.
It was just sort of a funny thing that just fate allowed.
Are you coming back to help with it? Or
I might be coming back to help with it.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah,
Very
I might be
exciting.
coming back to do some master classes as well with some of the people here, to just teach them some of the skills and get them up and moving.
That's going to sell out.
I think
everybody
it will.
and their sisters.
But we're pretty disciplined. I mean, I work people pretty hard, but that's what you need to do. You need to really focus. You need to get off your phone. You need to pull up. You need to get a handle on things, and it's a craft. It's an art, and you have to have discipline too.
Well, that is true. When you talk about every day doing the same play every day for a different audience, it is work.
You have to make it fresh every day. See, that's your job. You have to bring in feelings that you had maybe from your own life that day, and bring it into yourself enough so that you are convincing and you're believable, that you feel that line you're saying, and that you can also bounce off the other person and keep it fresh as if it's happened for the first time. So you don't go into doing it by rote, because then it's not good.
No, not at all.
That's a technique,
So you've had the distinction of being able to do Broadway, film. Everybody they don't get all of that. You got a chance to do all of that. Were you lucky?
Yeah, probably. But I think you want to appreciate and respect what you have or what you've been given as a gift, and you want to continue to work at it and on it, even in between jobs and when you're raising a family and doing things like that. You want to keep your foot in a little bit to keep yourself on form so that you can, if something comes up, you can do it. Or, in fact, you start something out, which is what happens after a while, too.
She is Dame, even though she's an American, she is Dame Donna King. We're going to be right back right after this.
Hollywood.
Hollywood. Hollywood.
Hollywood.
Hollywood.
Hollywood.
Hollywood. Hollywood.
Hollywood.
Hollywood.
Hollywood. Hollywood.
Hollywood.
Hollywood.
It's not for everybody, and it's not supposed to be.
When I was like 3 or 4, I went up to my mom and I told her that I wanted to be an actress.
Of course, I do want to be famous.
People come here with this dream of glitter and the streets paved with gold. There's a lot of people that talk about it.
I wasn't prepared.
It's almost impossible for everybody in this business to be a multimillionaire star.
There's a constant battle that I'm not physically the right type.
Why does it have to be that the black girl, if she is a love interest and she's overweight, that it has to be, oh, I couldn't believe he liked me?
It's tough to be a gay man who happens to be black. In Hollywood, they say, okay, so you could play the sassy best friend who shops with the girls and tells them what they should and shouldn't wear.
Hollywood is smoke and mirrors.
I've been to the other side of Hollywood. It almost killed me. My son, the boy saved my life.
Some people, Hollywood becomes what they breathe, what they live. They don't know how to take Hollywood off when the AD says it's a wrap.
You can either release yourself from it or you can stick around for the sinking.
You have to carve out your own journey. There's a lot of people who live in this business, a lot of people who are of this business, a lot of people who just work in it.
We're back with Donna King. So we're talking about actors and having more room for more types of actors. Brotherside Entertainment, who is the producer of this show, is doing a documentary, and it's called The Other Side of Hollywood. One of the people that's in that documentary talked about, if you're an overweight girl, could the person really be in love with the overweight girl? And one of the other actors was gay, and the question was, can the gay guy get a little bit more to do than just helping the girls pick the right dress and the right lipstick? Have we changed very much?
I kind of think there's two things happening now. I think you've still got your blockbuster movies that are just kind of really getting boring, and they're getting very stereotyped, and they're getting very just predictable, and they're action films with quick edits and a lot of destruction, and they think they can hold people's attention span by just having action and fear and violence happening every scene without the character development. But I personally am not interested in seeing those kind of movies because it's just an adrenaline pump, and unfortunately those are the kind of movies that get shown overseas in countries like Zanzibar or Zimbabwe or something like that. If you're on a ferry over there, they have these Jean-Claude Van Damme movies that are just like action, violent, so it gives a very bad impression of the Western world. And all these like Superman versus Batman kind of movies, I don't know. I just think it's not very cool to kill the children's heroes like that and just make them so one-dimensional that they just are at each other for no good reason, because I think we need our heroes.
And you look at independent filmmakers, and once again I'm going to be talking about Brotherside Entertainment and how difficult it is for them to get a film into a really big film festival. It seems that there's a lot of politics
It used to be
Hollywood.
easy to get the film festivals, to get the films in the small festivals, and it's still, that's not a bad way to go, because there's a lot of festivals, and if it does, rise to the top there, then it certainly has a look in, but the festivals themselves are getting more commercialized, some of them, not all of them, but I still wouldn't discourage people from making films about their life stories, character-driven films about real things that happen, or, slightly dramatized or whatever, because everybody wants to hear the stuff that's real.
Of course you watched the Oscars.
Yes.
And so what did you think this last year when there was this big controversy over there were no African Americans that were, I think it was oh my goodness, I can't think of Jada Pinkett Smith who said we're going to boycott, and other people. Well, actually, I can tell you that I haven't watched the Oscars in many years because of that very same thing.
Well, I think the team that decides, that picks the nominees, that's all old white guys. So, it's kind of, we're at the end of an era, we're at the cusp, but I think that's why so much is coming to the top now. That's like, a big crazy making, things are moving and things are dying out and things are shifting and transitioning. And I think there's a certain group of people who are used to being the top of the ladder, and now that other people, women, people of color, for example, people from other countries, are kind of coming up to be more level with this group, then that group is a little bit angry about that.
You watched that in the UK. You were here watching what was happening in your new home. I don't know if it's your home or your temporary home or whatever.
London.
In London.
Yeah.
This past weekend. Were you very upset?
Oh God, I was so upset. It's just really been awful. It's really been awful. I think it's taken the UK by complete surprise. They used similar tactics that they use in America.
Explain what happened. Explain what happened for people who don't know.
Basically, the United Kingdom is in the European Union. So the UK is in the EU, right? And have been for many decades. It's a protective body that kind of, most countries in Europe are quite good to their people. We have that dirty word socialism, which just means you look after your peeps. But it kind of works.
Healthcare. You go to the hospital and you leave without a bill.
Yeah,
all of those things.
You're not terrified. You don't have to plug into a job just to get the health care because you're so afraid if you get sick, it's going to be a horrible scene. Free colleges.
Isn't that an idea?
Well, yeah, it's a really good idea.
I think so.
Because it means that if people are smarter, then maybe they'll vote for people who are better equipped to run the country, So that's kind of sometimes why they don't want people to be smarter, so that we can be more easily controlled. But
the United Kingdom voted.
United Kingdom voted due to a lot of fearmongery that was on the front pages of all the tabloids and sort of the local newspapers that are in the tubes, the subway, and these sorts of like daily rag papers, in the National Enquirer sort of papers, and it was all about you're going to lose your job, you're going to lose your thing because of all the migrants, immigrants that are coming into the country. You're not going to have your health service anymore, which they out and out lied about. They had that publicity all over everywhere. So people were terrified that they wouldn't have their basic needs. And then, come to find out, they won, which has shocked everybody so much. Even the people who put it in place are shocked because they were kind of just having a personal rivalry. And it's a huge mess right now.
So they were worried about healthcare, they were worried about immigrants. And would you say that was a real fear?
No.
Or was that a fear that the politicians created?
It's been instilled. I think if you want to go way back and a little bit deeper on it, US and UK are responsible for bombing a lot of countries. And it all kind of started with the Iraq War, which I just read today that Tony Blair is hopefully being put up on war crime charges for starting with George W. Bush Jr.
Yes.
Right?
Well, he's not a junior, George W. Bush.
George W. Bush, right.
Yeah.
He's being pulled up for war crimes because in a way that's kicked off this whole mess. So as a people, we're confused because we're bombing these countries, and then the refugees come to our shores and, taking paddle boats and things across the sea, and horrible conditions for these normal people. And they get demonized. Oh, these are the people who shouldn't be here. They're trying to take our jobs. And well, if we wouldn't bomb the countries, they wouldn't have to come over here, for starters. That's one thing. Second of all, with the NHS, they out and out lied. because the man who said that we were going to save the NHS has now turned around 2 days later and said, no, we're not going to save the NHS, which England loves the NHS. It was, National Health Service was started after World War II because London was bombed. See, America hasn't actually been bombed.
No.
We've had, you know,
we had the incident of 9/11. Yes.
We certainly did, but we haven't had war here, you know, except for the Civil War.
Yeah.
Thank goodness, but it's a very scary thing when it happens, and it makes you see things in a different way. And I think that a lot of the older Londoners who I've met over there in the last 30 years, you know, they talk about it, and it was horribly traumatic, but also a time where people got together and, you know, found their way forward, but looked at life differently and thought to themselves, we need to find a way to, so that everybody who's been hurt can be taken care of for their health. So that was started after World War II, and it's been wonderful. And there's a difference when you go to the hospital or the doctor, and you know that that person's taking care of you because they want to take care of people. That's what their passion is. That's the currency. When you have the currency of money, it means that that person wants to make money off of your sickness, and so they can say any manner of things so that they can make money, get you to have tests, this and that and the other. So when money is the currency, it's a different beast. Although on the positive side of capitalism in that way, I suppose it creates more competition, so that you're learning to make more medicines and make things better and all that. But so do doctors coming from other countries who come to England, which now that's been messed up.
Well, I guess when you guys are looking at losing health care and being able to go to the doctor and being able to leave without worrying, is that going to be like another mortgage that I have to pay every month?
Yeah.
And now the question is whether or not that's going to happen or not. Yeah. I guess everybody is a little nervous.
Yeah. Well, I think the people who are in office recently want to make money, and they want to privatize the health system so that they can pocket some money off
Are
of
they
it.
looking at the U.S.? Is that what is happening?
I think they were thinking that the system that Obama tried to get into place here would be good, and I think he got, you know, it wasn't as easy as he thought it would be, because the pharmaceutical companies are so powerful in this country.
What's going to happen now? What's happening now? Today, what's happening a week later? Are there sessions in the Parliament to try to?
Well, I've been over here, so I've just been trying to pick up the news from my friends and on social media and that. The Prime Minister has resigned. David Cameron has resigned. Boris Johnson, who's our former mayor, is supposed to be stepping up to the plate, but he's feeling very unsure because he's realized what he's done, and there's a huge bunch of problems coming on his shoulders now, how to rejig everything. Scotland, who had recently voted whether to stay in the UK or not, has now said, no, we voted because we wanted to stay in the EU. So now they're going to have a re-vote and probably secede from the UK. Northern Ireland is probably going to become independent. So who knows?
Those are huge changes.
The leader of the Labour Party, we have conservatives and Labours like you have Republicans and Democrats. The leader of the Labour Party is under fire for being not very strong and trying to help people understand the true result for this referendum that was proposed. And lots of people in the shadow cabinet have resigned and been fired, and it's kind of just like all change at Clapham Junction, we would say, you know, where it's just like, you know, you throw the carpet in the air and you see what comes down. What comes down.
So you guys are in the United States, and you're looking at, you're in London, and you're looking at the United States, and you see this huge race coming up, and in North Carolina in particular, everybody's being reelected, from the governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, the General Assembly, and then we have the presidential elections as well, which will probably bring lots and lots of people. So when you look at our choices, we have on the Democratic side, they say we have Hillary, Bernie is hanging in there, and then we have Donald Trump. What do you guys see when you look over here?
First of all, let's just go back a step, because America loves everybody but half of America America
Not
loves
America, yeah.
President Obama.
Yes.
And wishes that somebody said, bring President Obama back to help sort this mess out, because they absolutely love and
They
adore
want
him.
President Obama
They
to
want
come
President
help?
Obama to come and help them out, because he's much loved and respected, and they think he's amazing.
I think Americans don't understand that. Here in the United States, if it rains too much, they blame the president. If anything goes wrong, they say, well, you know that President Obama. There have been elections where they blamed President Obama, who had nothing to do with what happened, and that happened. But in the rest of the world, he's seen as a good man.
He's kind of a scapegoat, sort of, I think, in a way, endemic of the times. And it's interesting, too, you know, we might have thought that America would elect a woman before they elected a person of color. So this brings up the question, too, for Hillary Clinton, you know, because she is a female, you know, how do Americans see that? You know, is that going to be possible? Lots of other countries have had
goodness,
female.
yes.
You know, they say it only takes 3 women in a corporation to actually affect change. 1 is objectified, 2 is more like a little bit of a cliquey group. 3 women can start to get their voices heard and their energy heard. And that would really be nice to kind of address the balance of many things so that it's not so testosterone fueled.
What do they think of Donald Trump?
I think
what's everybody saying, or they see Donald?
No one understands that at all. Absolutely do not understand that whatsoever. You heard that he was greeted in Scotland on his golf courses with a Mexican flag.
I'm sorry, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, really, he's a knee-jerk soundbite fear politician, is what I would say. So you're not thinking it through.
So you're there in London. You're watching politics over here. You're watching politics over there. I guess you do need to go on stage in order to get relief from all of that.
Funny you should say that. Today I walked into the rehearsal room and I was like, oh good, it's a safe haven. You know, you kind of start to like I'm taking a train tomorrow to New York, and I'll be in a middle zone place, so I won't have to think of either.
We're going to be right back with the wonderful Donna King right after this. Brotherside Entertainment, LLC. Multiple award-winning, multifaceted, specializing in film, television, stage, new media, special events, sports, industrials, training videos, commercials, PSAs, and more. We produce unique, fresh, stand-out material that entertains, enlightens, inspires, and empowers. We expose people from all walks of life to untold stories, taboo topics, and colorful characters through the arts. We produce original content, and we're also ready to help you bring your project to life. Our prices are competitive. Creative and technical challenges can make or break a project. Our team is comprised of lauded filmmakers, actors, and musicians with a combined 20 years of field and academic training. Our work has garnered official selections and commendations at local and international film festivals. We aim to break down the walls that stand between you and your dreams. Visit us now at BrothersideENT.com, on Twitter at BrothersideENT, and on Facebook at Brotherside Entertainment. Today with me, I have Donna King. Do you think that actors here are afraid not to be beautiful?
It did take me a little while to get used to seeing people on TV in England when I moved there in 1984, because American people on TV, especially on the news, are so like perfect and kind of glossy and, you know.
Oh, they're stars.
Honey, they're stars.
Yes,
they're starring down, you know, and it's like, ooh, you know.
Yeah.
And
you know, Ossie Davis said that. Ossie Davis told me that the problem with American actors, he wasn't talking about broadcast at the time, he said they were too afraid to be ugly. They
crack it.
Yeah. He said that when they cry, they want to, and the tears just fell. And everyone said she was so beautiful as she cried.
Yes,
you know.
yes.
But he said when he went to Europe, they weren't afraid to tear up their face and like.
Funny, I thought they purposely picked people who were strange looking to be on the news. When I first got there, I was kind of going, what? And they would talk with the W's would be the R's, Willy Willy Twoo, you know, and then there was the guy with the eyebrows that went all the way up to here, and all kinds of types of people. But they're kind of just like regular folk, too, if you just take England's been very good about that, you know. It's been very fair. And
so I could go over there now.
Honey,
could I go there now? Could I go? Ooh. Can you actually be a great actor and not be beautiful? Do you have to, or is there a trade-off, or can you just be an actor?
Well, I think you kind of have to have a look of sorts. I think maybe it's now melting a little bit with people doing like girls and things where it's going against type. But I remember working here, and I worked on mostly in theater in New York on Broadway, off-Broadway and Broadway, and I got the film to do in Hollywood, and I immediately thought, oh no, I'm not going to work out here because I didn't have blonde hair and you know, all that kind of stuff, and I just didn't quite feel like I was going to fit in. I just thought, this isn't my territory, you know. I've got to go back to New York where it's like, at least it's about telling a story on the stage, in the theater.
Okay, so now you did something very unusual. You took a play inside a prison. What was that like?
This one that I did a show in was not a bad one. It was all right. They were trying to help the women in the prison, and we put on Chicago, the play. You know Chicago?
Yes.
You know? Yeah, we put that on in the prison with the inmates playing in the show, subsidized by an opera company. So we had the funds, and we had the audience, and the patrons came to the prison. We performed it in the prison.
And what was that like? How did you? What was the first of all? What was the response from the outside? Giving them entertainment. What was it? Was it?
England's a bit better with that.
Okay.
England is a bit better with like we're all one. At least they have been until this recent mess that's going on. It's been a bit better with that. They're quite sympathetic to people, to others, and they realize these things happen.
But tell me about the show.
So the show was amazing. I was terrified the first day I went in there thinking, how am I going to teach these girls who are in jail how to play like they're in jail, but in a musical. I just put on Gladys Knight and the Pips and said, I know a place, ain't nobody. Hey girls, let's warm up, you know, let's get started.
Yeah.
And it was the most fascinating experience I've ever had. I was locked in with them for a month, coming in every day, not overnight, of course. So come in like 9 to 5.
I was going to say, that would be a lot.
No, but I had to go through the whole security thing in and out every single day. And well, what was wonderful about it was how transformative it was to the girls. Somebody who was a self-harmer, for example, became very helpful with another person teaching them steps. Because what it is, you have something else for them to think about besides why they're there and the reality of them being there, which they had to be so tough. When I would play a sentimental song for a warm-up, they would sing. So it gave them a safe place to be. Some of them would be a little riled up, and I'd say, look, I don't care what you did, I don't care why you're here. Do you want to look like a jerk to your family when they come to see the show? Then learn the steps, learn the song, and just get on with it. So it was something that they had to do. And we got them some costumes and some gorgeous little outfits, and they were on stage. It was most wonderful to see, like, for example, somebody's sister, watching her sister on stage, who she'd always thought of in a particular way, and just looking at her like she'd never seen her look so beautiful before. You know, it was really, really, really amazing.
That sounds like it.
It was wonderful for them. And I said, you can reinvent yourselves, you can get out there, and you can make a new life. Stay away from the bad guys. Start fresh, because that's what theater is. It's about creating a story and using your imagination to reinvent.
That's amazing.
It really
is.
I was in tears leaving that place.
Were you?
Oh, yeah, so much so.
And is there a plan to ever go back to ever do anything like that again?
I would be possibly open for doing something like that. It's a great program. In the new Michael Moore film, he talks about the prison system in Norway, which actually was an American idea that they've made good on. And of course, Norway had that terrible crime a few years ago where a right-wing person shot up all these liberal children, teenagers. A horrible, horrible situation. they don't even think they have a right to kill him. Even the father of a murdered child says, "It's of course I'm sick about this, but I still do not have the right to kill this person." And then this penal system is about rehabilitating so they can come back into society again.
Interesting. Very interesting. So if you could give a wish to America with all that you've seen, what would you wish for? What would you wish for the United
I love America
States?
so much.
Of course, we love it.
And I'm from Kansas originally, so I'm from the heartland, and days that my childhood was just wonderful. With
and let me interrupt and say, just because we're critical doesn't mean we don't love it. We absolutely, positively love America. And my family, there are all of these people who went to every war. And, you know, I still have folks who are a part of the military. We love this country, but it doesn't mean you can't criticize it.
You have to criticize something if you love it. All the more reason to criticize it, to keep it right, so it doesn't just go in the wrong direction, you know. The 20th century, America brought the world's cheeseburgers, jazz, pop art, blues, you know, rock and roll, rap, you know, so many things just blew the world's mind. It's been a turning point since 2000, the calendar turned around. I guess I just wish that this sense of rugged individualism that Americans have, yes, that's a good thing to have. It's good to be independent and have a fighting spirit and, you know, you want to protect things. But we're in 2016 now, and we have to have some, I don't want to say sophisticated, but some way to live together without just being independent and wanting your own way. And it's just not just America, it's England too, with people just not wanting to change. And I think I want my MAPO generation needs to think again about what kind of planet we're going to leave our grandchildren and what the Earth is going to look like with all this fracking and this and that and the other. You know, there's a lot of issues on the table now. And I think the young people in America are going to change things.
You're hopeful.
I think so. I think so, because they get it, they see it. You know, I had a little joke with a shop teller the other day with the plastic bag. I said, no, we don't need to choke Mother Nature anymore with any more plastic bags, you know. And she kind of looked at me and I said, look, once us baby boomer brats get out of your way, you guys are going to be able to save the earth, you know. All the plastic bottles for water, they're now building houses with now in Africa, and which are really resilient. So I really think that the young people are going to find a way. They're going to have to, you know. So the more help that we can give them now without trying to stand firm with our old ways, you know, the better.
Are you a playwright as well?
Yes, I have written a couple plays. I wrote a political satire when the Iraq War started, because it was very upsetting, and it was about female empowerment and women sitting the president down, who was the most important man in the world at the time, and telling him what for. And it was a little bit tongue-in-cheek, because it was like, you know, you have to learn the names of the countries in all the world, and then we'll get to, you know. So we took the piss a little bit, as we say, like Texas style, you know. So we had 3 girls, and it was a show within a show, a little bit Dixie Chicks, and it was really cool. Actually, I was very proud of that piece. So yeah, that's
any other stories in your heart and in your mind that
they keep changing and transmogrifying, you know. So I'm always writing. I always encourage people to write. If you're in a cafe and you happen to be by yourself, or on a plane or a train or somewhere in between things, instead of just getting on your phone looking at social media, you know, take the receipt or take some piece of old paper you've got and just write what you feel right then and there. And sometimes those little things you pull out of the box, and you can look back and go, oh, that's an interesting thought, and that can tie in with that, and that can tie in with that, and it can make some kind of story that I feel I want to share, you know, because we're lucky to be able, we're all lucky, we're all creative people. All of us are creative people.
So, all right, now, you're going to go back, okay? You're going to straighten them out in the UK and tell them.
God, I
that
hope
you've been here, you straightened out things here, you're going back over there.
I just fly around with a little nurse kit and everything, like Bewitched. That's what you get for watching Bewitched too much as a child. You think I can winkle your nose and everything will be all right again.
I wish.
We can, but try.
When I was a kid, I used to want to do that so much. I did. And see, if we could twinkle our noses now, maybe we could get another, we could get, maybe another hour?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it. Let's do it. One more time. Which one are you going to be? Are you going to be Jeannie or Samantha?
I'll be Samantha. You
okay, all right.
Okay.
Thank you. If you or someone you know would like to be a guest on Talking with Janet, please contact us by email, brothersideent@gmail.com. Leave your name and contact information. Without that, your guest will not be considered.
This has been a Brotherside Entertainment production.